Lab number 6.2. With this lab, we're starting a new small lab series on how to set up MobileFirst Platform on a Bluemix. In this particular lab, we will install required prerequisites for this lab series, except the only one that is already there. It's MobileFirst Platform command line interface that is really required to do this setup, and you should complete it as a prerequisites lab for this mini lab series. So let's start with opening the web browser and navigating to getting started materials. And from there, we actually will need to go inside the foundation, then the Bluemix, and then run foundation on IBM containers. So basically, station is pretty simple. We need to set up, first of all, the Docker engine. Afterwards, we need to configure Docker machine. We'll also need to set up IBM containers extension. This is the command line interface. We will need to also install Cloud Foundry command line interface. We will need to have pip installed for Python, and we will need to download image with IBM MobileFirst Platform that is ready to be configured and running in a container. So let's start with Docker. We need to go to Docker documentation, and from there select the installation, Docker engine, and Linux. It won't be so fluent as for Windows or for Linux, where you have simple installer. Here for Ubuntu, you will need to make some additional actions, and we will start with adding a GPG key. So the idea is pretty simple. You just copying the line from here and passing in your terminal. You will need to specify also the sudo password. In our case, it's double Q was uppercase, double Q was lowercase, 1, 2, 3, 4. The same as for every lab series that we have in our practice seminar. Then you need to edit the Docker list file. By default, it's not exist, so we need to create it. I recommend to do it again with sudo and then with atom text editor. You will just need to provide the file name. And the idea is that here in this file you need to enter the proper location for your packages for Docker. In our case, the version of Ubuntu is 14.04, so this will be the line that should be there. We just can copy it and pass here. Of course, not here, but in text editor, sorry. And save this file. And then we need to do apt-get update using the sudo again. And the final step will be to install itself the Docker engine, and this can be achieved using this command, sudo apt-get install Docker engine. So just copy it and pass in terminal. Server started automatically, so don't need to do this sudo service docker start and so on. Next thing for us is Docker machine. So installation of Docker machine is also pretty simple, but this is anyway the separate step. So we need to go to Docker machine documentation, and from there to copy this line, which is the installation for Linux. And in terminal, let's do the following. Let's type sudo su to enter and to log in as root, and pass this line as the root user. So everything else will be done automatically. You just need to wait a bit depending on your network channel. And that's it. With Ctrl D, let's go back to IBM user and type Docker machine. Yep, so it's there. And one more thing here before we will continue is set up an Python pip. So in order to do that, you need to copy the line that you have in the description for this lab. And it's look like this. We will get this file getpip.py, which is actually a script, and we will need to launch it under sudo user. Just like that. It will install the pip itself. So now we can type pip and check that it's working. And next, we need to set up additional things to support SSL connections. So two things. First and second lines can be also copied from description for this lab. And also the second line for general security requests. Just like that. So now we can go back to our article, and actually the next step, as you can see, we will need to define and check that Docker machine will be running. Unfortunately, it won't be running by default, so if you will type something like Docker machine env default, it won't show you any properties because that machine is not there by default. So first of all, you need to actually set up that machine. And you can do that by, again, following the instructions. So first of all, we need to click on Docker Machine Overview. And from there, actually, the second link will be like Get Started with Docker Machine. Ideally, you just need to create the new machine. Unfortunately, for that, you will need VirtualBox. And we will set up it from command line. So just type Ubuntu VirtualBox command line install. And we will need to go to official Ubuntu documentation for this installation process. You can also find this link in case you cannot find it through Google from description for this lab. So this is the line that we will need to copy and paste in our terminal. So afterwards, we can go back to documentation for Docker machine creation process, and basically this will be the line that we will need to use. So we'll create a new machine with a name default, and just pass this line in your terminal. That's it. Very important is actually to say to which machine we'll be talking to, otherwise we won't be able to use IS login afterwards. So the command looks like this, but instead of the dev name we should provide our name default to specify that we will be talking to this machine, just like that. And a few more steps to do. So we will need to set up the IBM containers extension, and we can get it from the GitHub repository. I mean, of course, the Cloud Foundry we can get from the repository, and then using the pip we will install the containers extension. So let's first go to repository and install the Cloud Foundry command line interface. So the idea is pretty simple. We just need to actually either copy or download right from here the package for Ubuntu 64. It's like Debian package. And then we will need to install it. We can do it from command line. So the idea will be like this: dpkg -i, and then the location. In our case, it will be downloads folder, and then this CF. Of course, we will need to do it under sudo, just like that. And then the final thing is to copy this line and install the IBM containers extension. Again, let's use sudo. So now we can download the platform foundation IBM containers, I mean the image itself. You just need to click I agree. and the image will start downloading. Of course, it depends on your network connection. Mine is pretty fast, so it won't take a lot of time. So now we can unpack the image. You can just extract everything inside the downloads folder. Basically, that's it. That was the last step for this lab, and we actually continue with installation itself in next labs. Thank you.